Good morning, Year 1 parents, and welcome to the Year 1 midterm webinar. We've created these sessions to give you a little bit of an information session midway through the year, and hoping that you'll come away after today with a bit more information about what your child's been learning and some steps and ideas of how you can support at home as well. So I have the wonderful Miss Zoe Simcock, our Year 1 year leader, with me as well this morning, who will talk you through a presentation. And at the end of the presentation, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions. So please, if you see anything that you think, oh, I don't understand, or I want a bit more information, please do type into the comments box here, and we'll hopefully be able to address some of those at the end of the presentation. So thank you very much for joining. This is recorded and available on YouTube afterwards, so you'll be able to watch it back or pass it on to other Year 1 parents. But thank you very much for joining us, and over to Zoe.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're okay. I know it's a little bit unusual to be doing this over Zoom, but we just wanted to give you more insight into Year 1 and the different topics that are coming up. And again, like Miss Laura said, how you can help the children. So if we just go to, yeah, there we go. So as you know, our mission statement is to nurture, challenge and excel with all the children. And it is more important than ever that we are continuing to do that this year. I know that it's so unusual with having the children in different bubbles and not always being with that class teacher. But I just want to reassure you that we're always doing everything we can to nurture, challenge and excel with the children. So here's just a little insight into some of our current topics and what we are learning at the moment. So hopefully you've seen lots on Seesaw and the different social media aspects, but we are continuing with our topic on the United Kingdom. So before we broke up for half term, we looked at England and Scotland. So we are now continuing with that topic, and we're going on to Wales and Northern Ireland. We are trying to link all the subjects under that one topic. So for example, United Kingdom, we're trying as much as possible, where possible, to link the different topics in with that. So for example, in science, we've just completed seasons, which we linked again to the United Kingdom. Coming up in science, we're moving on to plants, as again, moving through the different seasons, and we'll be talking about how to grow plants. We'll be looking at the different features of plants and learning about some of the different plants as well. And again, in our English topic, we are going to be looking at Northern Ireland and Wales. We're not necessarily finding the information about those countries in our English lessons, but we are going to be doing it around a book. And then what we have on a Thursday is what we call Project Day, but again, it's linked to humanities. That's where we then find out about the different countries and we get more information and facts about that. One of the big things that I did want to talk about today was that transition from EYFS to the national curriculum. So I know we had a number of questions when the school reports went out in December about how it looked that their child had left EYFS, FS2 on exceeding and then moved into Year 1 and that we're only working towards. This is because they are two completely different curriculums. So when they're in EYFS, they are on Development Matters and the early years profile. They then move on to the national curriculum. And just like they did in EYFS, they would have gone from 30 to 50, 40 to 60, entering, developing, and then exceeding. It is exactly the same with Year 1 and the national curriculum. It is like a stepping process. They have to work their way up to get to that step. So please, please don't worry if your child was exceeding or expected in EYFS, and when you got that December report, they weren't. Like I just said, it's just a bit of a stepping stone to get there. Is there anything else, Miss Laura, you think we could add about that, or was that okay?
No, I think that's perfectly clear. No.
Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, so here, if you can see, it's just some examples of some writing that was done in year one. So this was actually when we did our big write on Scotland, and we were doing non-chronological reports. And as you can see, I'll just talk through some of the things that your child really needs to be doing in order to become that expected in writing. So one of the things is the spelling. So I'll talk more about phonics in a minute. We have moved on to phase 4 and phase 5 in phonics, and really we want the children to be using those phonemes when they're spelling words. So for example, when they're in phase 3, they'll have the A sound in rain. Are they able to use that A sound within their writing? One of the other things that's a little bit different as they go into year one is we look at things called the prefix un, and we also look at suffixes, and that could be something from adding ing, adding ed to the word. So for example, they have the word run, and when they write running, are they able to think about how to spell that word? And again, some of the common exception words. So for example, can they spell it correctly? He, she, it is, all those words that come up quite a lot, are they spelling them correctly? We want to be seeing that the children are using capital letters, they are using finger spaces and full stops within their writing. So I would suggest, if you're doing any work at home with the children, that you are reminding them quite a lot about those capital letters, about the finger spaces and full stops. And not only that, can they use capital letters for the names of places, for the names, and all the things when they should be using a capital letter. One of the other things that we are looking at as well is making sure that we can use exclamation marks or question marks in their writing. So yes, if they are able to use a question mark, do they know when to use that? And we also are very keen on getting the children's handwriting as neat as possible. Not every child can use cursive, and that's okay. But one of the things we like to see for an expected writer is that they're able to form their letters correctly. Are they able to sit their letters on the line? Are they all the same size, so we don't have any tall letters, any small letters, that they're all quite the same? Another thing that we'd like to see is for using adjectives in their writing. So can they use describing words in their writing when they're describing different people or places? Are they able to do that? And also that it makes sense. Can they read their work back? Can they check that it makes sense? Can they check themselves that they've got capital letters and they've got full stops? And you can see here for this expected writer that they have got those capital letters and full stops. Their letters are the same size. They've also used the word and within their writing as well. So one of the things I would say at home is, if you could try and get them to be writing as independently as possible, one way that we do it in school is you could just give them a little picture and ask them to write a sentence. Very simple, but can they include those things that I've talked about?
Miss Zoe, I want to add there as well, with the writing, obviously that's where the children are aiming to get to at the end of the year, and you might be looking at this, parents, and panicking, thinking, goodness me, my child's nowhere near this at the moment. Obviously we are only halfway through, and your child is being taught all these different skills and strategies in class, and then hopefully you'll be able to see by the end of the year where what they can achieve. And remember, if you are writing at home, it's so crucial to keep writing really positive. Look for fun opportunities. Don't try to make it look perfect. It doesn't matter so much about the presentation. We work on that gradually, but just really keeping writing as a really, really positive experience, and celebrating the wonderful things that you can see in the writing. You know, if you're struggling to read it through, teachers are experts at managing to read children's handwriting. Get the child to read it back to you, and talk and celebrate about the wonderful pieces that you can see in the writing that they do produce, whether it's a shopping list or a letter or helping you to draft an email to a granny, and things like that are really, really super opportunities, and just keeping it really positive. That's it.
Yeah, that's a lovely one, writing shopping lists with the children. They absolutely love doing that, and that's a good way of just building their confidence up with writing.
And it doesn't matter if the word is spelled completely wrong. You know, they're beginning to use whatever element of phonics to help them, whether it's biscuits or cakes or whatever else you're buying. You're having a good go at trying to sound it out, but it won't be perfect, and certainly parents don't expect it to be perfect. It's just going through practicing.
And I think that's the worry. Don't worry if they are spelling things wrong, as long as they're trying and they're using their phonics. So they might use the wrong sound within a word, but that's okay. As long as it's phonetically correct, they've tried.
Absolutely.
So we're going to move on to reading. Now, reading is a little bit of a difficult one at home, because we seem to hear quite a lot that children are able to read fluently, which is fantastic, and that is what we want really at this stage, is them to be able to read fluently. And again, if they can't read fluently, that are they using those their phonics skills to help them decode the words, which is absolutely wonderful. One of the other things that we're trying to incorporate into our lessons as well is that they're discussing what they're reading, and that the children are talking about what they're reading. Not only does this help their reading skills, but it also helps with their oracy as well. So one of the things that you could be doing with them if they're reading at home is talking to them about what they think the book's going to be about. So before you've even got on to opening that book, can you talk to them about what they think it's about? And as you move your way through the book, can you ask them questions about what they think might happen next, what they think of a character? It doesn't always have to have an answer within their book. It might be their opinion. Why do you think Jack ran up the beanstalk? Different questions like that to really help the children. And then can the children then tell you those answers and stuff? So yes, it is great for the children to be reading at home. It is great for them to be reading fluently as well, but we also need that discussion about the story that they are reading. It can just be, I always think one of the biggest things you can do would be to read with a child at home, even if it is 5 minutes a day, just reading with them. And like I said, it doesn't have to just be a book. You don't always have to just read a book. I know sometimes when the children get home, they're probably tired and the last thing they want to do is sit down and read and stuff like that. I completely understand. So you might just want to be out and about and getting the children, oh, what does that say? Can you have a go at reading that? And a little bit like if you've got a shopping list, can your child read that shopping list back to you? One of the really good websites that I really love is Letters and Sounds, and on it there are tons of words, there are tons of sentences, there are also lots of games for the children to play on. It doesn't have to just be a story to help them read. We do try and move the children on as much as we can. So it's just really important that your child always has their books in school, so that we can do that with the children as well, as we do like to move them on as much as possible.
I'll just add there as well, on the stages, you know, that every child is completely individual and they will move through the colour bands and the book bands as they need and as suits them best. And that'll obviously be discussions between the child and the teacher, working out how confident they feel, how fluent they are, how good their decoding is, how good their comprehension is before we move the children through. So your child may not be into gold or into purple by the end of year 1 and heading into year 2. It just needs to be whatever's at the right pace for your child. So please just keep it positive again and just celebrate and enjoy reading stories together and enjoy reading together.
And that's a really good one, is that reading, you could read to the children, you could be having that discussion with them. So their library books, maybe they like to get into bed and read their library books with you, even if it's just a case of looking at the pictures and discussing what's happening in the picture. All that is really helping their reading as well. And like Miss Laura said, the children do move on at different stages, and we only are halfway through the year. So if your child isn't somewhere you want them to be, please don't panic. And again, we work quite closely with year 2. So if they're not quite there yet, then the year 2 will do stuff to support that as well. Okay, so phonics, like I said before, some of the children are going on to phase 5 and some of the children are on phase 4. And it's like everything. Don't worry if your child isn't on phase 4 and they're not on phase 5 yet. We in school are doing everything we can to progress them and make sure they're on the correct phase. So I always think phase 3 and phase 5 are the hardest phonics phases there is. Phase 3, it just gets that little bit more complicated for the children when they've moved from EYFS onto phase 3. And it's just a case of applying those sounds that they're learning in those lessons. And then, so they'll, for example, like I said before, the sound A would be in phase 3, but then they're also then introduced in phase 5 to another A sound. It sounds exactly the same, but it is spelt differently, and it is so hard for them, bless them. It is really quite a complicated one. So phase 5 is quite a long phonic phase, but it is because they have different ways of sounding out and spelling those different sounds. I've put the website here, which I mentioned before, which has lots of games and everything on for you to see with that. I've also put a list of the high frequency words on there for you. So we try and see if the children can read those words as well. Those words are words that come up quite often in their reading and also within their writing as well. Going on the Letters and Sounds website, there's also a game called Buried Treasure. Now, this is a really good game because it's what they call pseudo words. And that always is a bit of a minefield for me, pseudo words. But what that means is these are words which are not real words, but they also have the sounds in from the different phonics phases. So it's quite complicated. And at the end of the year, the children will do a phonics screening check where they'll be asked to read those pseudo words and also to read normal words. Now, the what is behind that is the fact that we want to see that the children are recognizing those sounds and applying them to their reading. So yes, to me, it makes no sense that they have to read a pseudo word. That absolutely makes no sense, but it has the phonic sounds in, those graphemes and those digraphs in. Okay, so it's things like, and what we try and call it is those alien words. So basically they're naming the alien, and that's the word that it is. And like I said, Buried Treasure is a really good activity to do online with the children, which will help them with reading those pseudo words. Okay, so just a little reminder with the maths that you can get our calculation policies on the mobile app. And you can see here that there's a couple of links for that as well. So if you just click on those, they will take you through to the different techniques that we are using to help with the children and how they can go about answering different questions. So just some of the things that we're doing in maths with the children. We do have number work. We do also have the shape, space and measure aspect within our maths lessons as well. We try to do, we do maths every day, the same as what we do with the English, and we will try and mix it up. So they won't necessarily do 4 long weeks of number work. They will then maybe do 2 to 3 weeks of number work, and then they will maybe have 2 weeks where they're doing some stuff on shape, measuring, I know we've got coming up, we're going to be doing some weights, some weighing with the children. We're also going to be looking at volume and capacity. So that is to come. So some of the things that you could be doing at home and also what we're doing in school with the children is we're making sure that they can count, read and write numbers to 100 in 2s, 5s and 10s. And like Miss Laura said, please don't panic if your child isn't quite there yet. We will build up to these points. Can they talk about less than and more than a number? Can they read and write addition and subtraction questions and answer them? We are using different things like number lines. We're using 100 squares in school. We're also using practical. So can they use cubes to help them answer these questions? And again, at home, you might want to do it with fruit or anything that you've got at home. They might want to do it with their cars. All those things are fantastic to help with their maths, and that way they don't actually feel like they're doing maths if you're doing it with food and different cards and stuff. One of the other things that they will be working on is problem solving. So we try and do quite a lot of problem solving with the children after they've been taught the main aspect of the topic. So things like I went to the shop and I bought 4 apples. I then went and bought 3 more. How many do I now have? It's getting them used to that language and realizing, well, the word altogether, I have to add those 2 numbers together. Some of the things with the measuring that we'll also be looking at is finding a half and finding a quarter, naming 2D and 3D shapes. And again, this is something you could do when you're out and about. If you come across a shape, oh, what shape is that? Can you tell me what it is? How many sides does that shape have? How many corners does that shape have? And it's just talking them through when out and about, really. One of the things we've also noticed is the formation of their numbers is just making sure that the children are forming their numbers correctly. And again, this can be done outside with chalk, it can be done with paint, different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be done with a pen and piece of paper.
I'll just add there, Miss Zoe, because those the calculation policies are really, really useful, parents. And they do talk through the different strategies, the different methods that are used in school, which are maybe very different to how you learnt maths. So please do, if you go onto the mobile app on the little 3 lines, and you can go onto policies, and you'll see the two calculation policies there, and they're really clear pictorial images and talking about the different methods and how it continues and progresses through the school. So they are very, very useful documents for you, so do check them out.
Okay, so expectations in oracy. Now this to me is something that is huge with the children. I always feel that if you want to get a child to write, they need to be able to talk about what they want to write first. So it's really, really important that you are doing lots of speaking and listening with the children at home. And you can see from the pictures, there's just a couple of examples how we've done it in school. So the children love, if they've done something exciting outside of school, they love to come in and talk to the children in class about what they've done. So as you can see here, karate was done, and this child was then able to talk to the class about how he'd got his green belt in karate, and it was so lovely, and it allowed the other children to listen, but it also allowed that child to be talking about what he's done. Another thing that we've been doing this week, which has been so lovely, we've been reading the story Finn McCool, and we've been doing a lot of hot seating, and we've been doing lots of talking with the children. So all the other children have been able to ask our imaginary Finn questions about how he's feeling and how old he is. Lots of the children today were asking how strong he is. Different things like that is giving them different opportunities to practice that speaking and listening. In phonics, when they come to do their writing and we're maybe asking them to use a word, we'll maybe say to the children, can you tell me your sentence first? Another lovely app is called Chatterpix, where the children can take a picture of something and then they can make that picture talk, and it's so lovely because the children, they get really excited about what they're doing, and it's so lovely to see with that one. It was just really important that at home that you are doing lots of speaking and listening with the children. And again, as you can see how we do it, that if you're having dinner with the children at home, that they're sitting up, they're speaking properly. It's really important with that. And I know, Miss Laura, you're very fond of oracy.
Very passionate about oracy, and really valuing talk. And I do think, dinner tables or driving when you're driving in the car on long journeys, really valuing talk and the questions and debates and discussions and the what ifs that you can have are just so important and so crucial, and are as important as the reading and the learning the times tables and all those other things, because the children really need to be able to talk clearly, articulately, because all that language feeds into their writing, feeds into their reading. So yeah, please don't underestimate the power of talk. And you model fantastic talk as well, really ensuring that you're providing eye contact, that you are, being clear in your answers, and the children will copy you. They will model just as how you're modeling to them. So be that perfect role model for them with conversations and talking at home.
And one good way you can do it as well is just ask the children about their school day. Ask them what they did, and did they like their lunch, or what topic, what country are they talking about today, and stuff like that is always a great way of getting it out of them.
Very often I can hear a lot of parents saying they're behind the screen saying, goodness, whenever I ask my child, what did you learn at school today? They just get a one-word answer. So you need to really think about targeting your questions. You might say, tell me something wonderful you learned today. Tell me who you talked to today. Tell me somebody you played with. Tell me one thing that Miss Zoe said which really challenged you, or tell me something funny that Miss Gemma said today. So really try and extend the children with those questions, because it's very easy for a child to say, oh, I'm exhausted, I'm just going to give you one word. So think about your questions and how you can help your child to answer them clearly.
Okay, so I've just got a few things that you can do at home. I put this picture of the children eating their lunch together is because, like Miss Laura said, just talking with the children around the dinner table and things like that is fantastic. And I discussed it before in the reading, one of the big things to do is read with the children. And like I said, it doesn't have to be them reading a book every single night. It doesn't have to be them reading the whole book every single night, even if it's just a page, or even if it's you reading with the children and they're listening and they're enjoying the book together. One of the things that is key at the moment as they moved into year one is that independence. It is really, really important for the children to be as independent as possible. And some of the things you can do at home to help them is, can they help you prepare their lunch for the next day? Can they help make their water bottle? Different things like that will really help the children with their independence. Can they pack their own school bag? Can they check that they've got their reading folder in their bag? All those things will really help with them. Some of the other things is their spellings. So spelling tests are done every Thursday in school. They are put onto Seesaw the Thursday before. Just please make sure you're doing those spellings with the children, and also their homework. So homework is put onto Seesaw every Thursday, and the homework is reflecting what the children have learned that week. So it's really important that you are completing that homework with them. And again, like I said about that independence, see if the children can have a go on their own. If they can't, then help them and support them, but don't just do it for them. Try and let them have a go at doing that. Is there anything else we think about home? Or?
No, I think that's it, Miss Zoe.
Okay, we've got one more slide and then we've got time for some questions. So just some reminders, and I feel like we always put it in the blurb, so I'm so sorry that you're probably fed up of hearing us say it, but it is so important at the moment that reading books and library books come into school on time. So reading books and library books have to be put in the box in school on a Tuesday. That way, the books can go into quarantine and they can be put aside, and then new books will then go out on Thursday. It's so important that this is done because obviously, as you know, we're not allowed to be sharing books from household to household. We're not meant to be touching the books. So the reason that we ask for them to come in on a Tuesday is so that we have that period of time to put the books to a side before they then go out on the Thursday. So it's really important that they are in on a Tuesday. And if they're not in on a Tuesday and they come in on a Thursday morning, I'm really sorry, that's when it's really hard and that we can't change the books. And we also have our set library days where Miss Lise has the books ready for us. One of the big things that we're finding at the moment is water, and especially as it's getting a little bit more hotter, and especially on our PE days, please make sure you have enough water for your child to last the whole day. And if so, they drink a lot, put 2 bottles in their bag. And like I said, on those PE days, I would suggest putting a little bit more water in. If you can't do that and you want to put a dirham in your child's bag, they can use the water machine. But we are finding at the moment that children are drinking their water super quickly because they just want to go to the water machine. So if you can just make sure that they have a lot of water in school and a dirham just in case they do run out. And then
who doesn't love an exciting trip to the water machine, Miss Zoe?
One of my kids, it was like 8 o'clock and they drank their bottle of water to go for a walk. And then the last thing is the school timings. So school drop-off is between 7:40 and 8. And it is really important that your child is in school by 8 o'clock because we do start our phonics lessons at 8:05. So if your child then comes in after 8 o'clock, they are likely to miss the beginning of their phonics lesson. So it is really important. And if they do come in at 7:40, we have our basic skills. So again, if they're coming in after 8, they're not only missing the start of their phonics lesson, but they're also missing that basic skills, which we do things that practice the skills that we've been doing in the week, also things that we've maybe done a few weeks ago, just to reinforce that. So it's really, really important. And then the last thing, pickup is between 2 and 2:20. And again, it is really important that you are here on time, because we've done the staggered pickup times to ensure that there is not too many adults on site. So it is really important that the children are picked up on time. So thank you so much. I'm sorry that there's loads of information, but if you have any questions, please just pop them down.
Yeah, please do, parents. I know you're very vocal, so please do ask questions and we can try and answer them right now. There don't seem to be any at the moment. It is very crazy times that we're living in at the moment, but I think the whole school and the team, year one team, have been adapting incredibly well, and our children have been amazing. So we do really appreciate your support. And so sessions like this, where you can try and feel a bit more connected and find out more information, when it used to be a lot easier, when we could have a lot more face-to-face opportunities. So I do hope you found this useful. There don't seem to be many questions. And as I said, this recording will be available afterwards on the YouTube account. And yeah, please do keep visiting the mobile app for updated information. Please do take the time to read the newsletters when they go out, and also the weekly email from Miss Zoe. That's so important to give you lots of information about what's going on and what's happening, and then you're kept up to date. But thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you so much, Miss Zoe, for your time and for sharing your expertise. And I hope you found this useful, parents, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye.